Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coach Krisler's Combos. And if you've been here since the beginning, you are not having deja vu. Lisa Fischer is here with me again because we're going to flip the script a little bit. We're going to do something a little bit different today. So what we're going to do is normally I am interviewing people and having conversations with them about their health journey, how they've used functional medicine, how things have changed for them. But I thought for those of you that don't really know me and are interested in hearing how I got into things, that Miss Lisa is going to guide us through the conversation as she does on her own podcast and things like that. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Lisa, and let's do this.
Okay, you're in the hot seat right now. People know you as the lady with the pretty smile in your office, and they know a little bit about you, but we need a deep dive into the skeleton, and meaning your health, not too deep, but your health, where you came from, because we all want to know, who is this pretty lady that we get to hear? Because what I love about you, Coach Krisler, is you have an inquisitive spirit. You are always learning, which I think is just a great reminder. I just heard someone the other day say that when Tom Brady goes to meetings, he still takes notes, because even the greatest quarterback in the world still has something to learn. And so I love it that you and your health journey, you've taken this to equip you to help others, but you continue to learn. So let's just start where I know a little bit about you, but remind me then where you grew up, where you went to college, and then what brought you to God's country, Fort Worth.
Well, I actually am originally from Texas. I was born in Houston, but we moved away towards the end of elementary school. And so I've lived in between coming back. I've lived in Florida, Connecticut, went to college in New York. Then I moved to get my first job. I moved and lived with my sister for a few months in Michigan, and then moved to Ohio and hated that. And so I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And decided graduate school was the way to go, because adulting was just not my thing at that point.
Same.
And so I applied to graduate schools all over the country, but knew I always wanted to come back to Texas. And so that's what I did. I got into the University of North Texas, and that's where I got my master's. And I moved back to the area, and I have been here ever since. And that was in '99. And I met my husband, and he's a Texas boy. So hell will freeze over 4 times before he even thinks about moving out of the state.
Right.
So I'm here permanently.
Okay. All right. We'll take you. Did you come from a family of high achievers? Because I know you're a high achiever. You're at the university level, and again, getting your health coaching certification. So did you come from that?
Yeah. So everybody in my family. So I have a sister who's older, and both my parents, we all have master's degrees, and all of us have gotten them at different stages of life. My mom and dad both got their master's degrees after they had been working for many years.
Wow.
And my sister got hers. She had been working for some time, and then went back and got hers as well. So we are all master's level folks. And my parents very much drilled into me that education was important. And it was going to be a key for me to really be successful. They definitely came from backgrounds that it was necessary for them to have an education in order for them to move up in life and to see success. And so they instilled that in my sister and I, and that's where I got that from.
That's outstanding. Now, a lot of us who do love the functional medicine approach, we got here because we were deep in the weeds in something, and the only thing that solved it for us was getting to the root cause. Is that kind of your story?
So, what's interesting is I've always had an interest in health. When I started college, my original major was biochemistry,
Oh,
and I was planning to be a doctor, specifically a pediatrician.
wow.
And so health, medicine, all of that has always been in the forefront of my mind. But obviously that did not pan out. Organic chemistry was like, no, ma'am. And I was like, yep,
So
you're
I
right.
hear. Yeah.
So, but even when I changed my major to sociology, I minored in community health, and I was medical sociology focused.
Oh,
That
okay.
was really what I was. I still had a passion for that. And I knew at the time that there were non-biological things that were important to our health, our social environment, our relationships, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. But I didn't know about functional medicine at that time. I'd never heard that term or anything outside of conventional. So, fast forward to me being here and being married and having children, which is a lot of years in between. But I was living the life that I thought was normal. I was busy, I was working, I was, volunteering, I was, a mom. And so, just being tired all the time, I just thought that's normal. It's just who you are. And I always was complaining about being tired, or just was in this horrible, like, up and down with my moods, and I just thought this is just how it is, because that's what everybody always said.
Mm-hmm.
um and then I decided, well, my doctor had been saying, you need to, like, at least get on a multivitamin, because I was like, whatever, I'd taken multivitamins, they didn't do anything.
Right.
um but I was coming up on 40. She was like, you really need to, like, at least take a multivitamin. Um, and I jumped in with a friend who works for a supplement company. She's an ambassador. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. A couple of months in, I realized I wasn't quite as draggy anymore. And I was like, this is interesting, and I was like, I've got some energy during the day, and I'm not, like, having to take a nap, and all these different things. And so I was like, there's got to be more to this. And that's really the thing that kicked off me wanting to know more. I was like, how is this working? What is this doing to my body? um there's got to be other things going on. And so between today and that time, it's been about 6.5 years. And that's really, like, where everything just started to change for me.
Did you ever have a diagnosis, or do you think now a diagnosis was overlooked? Do you think maybe you had a dysthymia, which is low depression? Do you think maybe you had low thyroid? Do you think maybe you had postpartum depression? There are things that sometimes we don't get the label for, and it helps put us in a direction of, oh, that explains it, but you've
Yeah.
reversed it. So I totally respect that. But was there something maybe that somebody overlooked that you had?
Yeah, I do think there were some things that were overlooked. I had incredible mood swings, and I've really been like that for a long time. Even as a kid, I remember, being super happy, and then just being
Mm-hmm.
so sad, and,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
crying. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do think that there was something there that wasn't really acknowledged. For sure, postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of times where I would just sit and sob,
Mm-hmm.
because I just didn't know what to do or how
Mm.
to do it. I was overwhelmed. And I had help. I was one of those people that my spouse was very engaged. He was changing diapers and feeding the kids. And, my mother-in-law lives close to us, so she was helping. I had my sister and my mom came in the first couple of weeks
Mm-hmm.
when the babies were new, and like, I had help. So again, I just thought, this is just kind of how it is. Like, I didn't really ask anybody, like, is this normal? I didn't really I didn't know, because I think so many things were just normalized that it was like, okay, well, this is just how it is. You work through it, and that's it.
Breaks your heart to know that there are many women who walk alone. They are through the delivery process, they might be single through
Mhm.
no fault of their own. Maybe a husband died with an infant, or you have an
Mhm.
ailing parent you're taking care of and a new infant. It's a lot. Those first few months of mommyhood are not sunshine and roses. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a difficult time. And I do wish people would communicate that better. It's not a great public relations move. Hey, you're going to get pregnant. You're going to have a really crappy first 3 months, but have a good time. Have a good life.
Right. Right.
And it does. And
Yeah.
it's part of our, as you know, our hormones are imbalanced at that time.
Mhm.
And I don't know really what the lifesaver is I mean, it's just difficult to get through it. So I'm glad you did that. So you know about sociology, so you know about people. That's always been
Mhm.
an interest for you. So
Yeah.
then I can see that's a natural segue for you, that you would think, okay, I know about people. I understand a, sociology is just a wonderful science. Now I
Mhm.
want to help these people. So who in your mind was your first client? Like if you were to visualize who your client, your typical client is, who did you think in the beginning you were going to help? The woman like you?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I always said, no mama walks alone.
Oh, I
No
love
mama
that you
walks
say
alone. I am
that. I love
here.
that.
I am here. No mama walks alone. You do not have to be by yourself. And I think that was really something that pushed me to seek out health coaching, was that there could be this arm in arm thing, where we could just link arms and walk together. And when there were times where the client, the mama especially, was feeling low and struggling, we're linked, so I can help brace you. And when she's experienced success, she's made those steps forward, then we are linked, and I can celebrate those things with you. And so that was really the thing. I was like, there has to be people out there to educate, to encourage, to provide support, to help you see there are options and a variety of paths to take. You don't have to be in this state of settling for what the world has said is normal. There's no need for that. So yeah, that mama that's overwhelmed, that's stressed, that's either working or got the 5 kids or
Mm,
whatever it
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
that just doesn't see the way. I'm like, okay, we can do this together. Two heads are better than one.
That's right. Well, let's pull the curtain back. When someone reaches out to you and says, I want you to partner with me to get my emotional health, my physical health, all the things that encompass health coaching. What's the first thing you do with them? Do you do a discovery call? Do you do a Zoom call with them? What's your approach?
So typically I do a discovery call. They're free. I am all about being open and honest with people. I want people to know what health coaching is and what it is not.
That's good.
So we have that conversation of, this is what it is, right? These are the different paths we may take and things we'll look at. I do get a little bit of information about them as well, because it may not be a fit, and that's okay. Maybe it's somebody that I say, well, you know what, if this is where you need to go, maybe, or this is your goal, maybe, therapy is where you want to
Hmm.
start, or
Hmm.
maybe this health coach, right, who has a particular interest or
Hmm.
expertise in this area, right? They don't have to always be my client. I really want to hear from the person. I really want to connect with them and see, are we a fit? So all of my discovery calls are free. They typically don't take a long time. I set 15 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes if max, but it's just a conversation to kind of open the door and get people started thinking about what this really is and how it applies to them.
Well, then let's define what health coaching is and what health coaching isn't. I think that's a good path. So how do you describe that to somebody?
Typically, I ask them if they've ever heard of functional medicine and if they've ever heard of health coaching. Based on what they say, then I, say, okay, well, may I share a little bit about both of those things with you? And typically what I share with them is that a health coach is there as a helper and a guide towards whatever the goal is. And that may look different for different people. It may be a physical health thing. It may be related to a diagnosis. It may be related to stress or sleep or whatever. I provide help with setting goals. I provide help with deciding on what action plans are applicable for this season of life, because seasons change. And then I also provide accountability and help them learn how to hold themselves accountable as well, so they're not dependent on me for accountability. And then finally, I provide resources if necessary. So that may be through podcasts, it may be through articles if they want to learn more, whatever that is for them. Yeah.
And then what health coaching isn't, what would you say? How would you define that?
So health coaching is not, I'm not a medical practitioner. I don't have, a license in nutrition, or I'm not a medical doctor. So I'm not going to provide medical advice, or prescribe anything in that sense. I also don't provide therapy for an individual. Now, we do talk a lot about personal life things, and we do get into some very touchy subjects, but sometimes people need a licensed counselor in order to deal with past trauma, for example, right? I'm trauma informed as a functional medicine health coach, but I'm not a licensed counselor. So I can walk them through certain things, but they may need a specific person to help. I'm also not a personal trainer or a nutritionist. I'm not just going to give you a plan and be like, done.
Right.
I am your coach. So I will walk with you through that process and help you tweak and change. So I'm not a trainer. I'm not a nutritionist. You don't just get a plan from me and I expect you to kind of carry that out on your own.
I think that's one area that I have to push back on often, because I am a certified health coach as well, of people saying, okay, will you write down what I should eat and when I should go to the gym? And I go, I don't know what you should eat. I don't know.
Yeah.
People do confuse the term health coach with nutritionist for some reason. And though you approach, because that's what you were saying earlier, nutrition is just one cog on the wheel,
right?
But there are relationships, there's past trauma, there are other things that can be done. Where did you get your health coaching certification?
Through the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy.
And that was all done virtually online, which is, I would assume. Yeah. That's how long did it take you?
It's a year-long program.
Okay. And because you were also teaching, the whole time you're still teaching on the university level.
Yes. So I have been a professor for, my main career has been professoring for 20 years now. I'm in my 21st year.
Wow.
And I love it. But, I have been hearing that Holy Spirit voice saying, you need to pull back from that and step into this new area. And so I've been kind of slowly pulling away from teaching and doing more coaching.
It's so valuable. And to have both of those gifts as a professor, though, is you can see things in people. You probably can tell the ones who are hurting, the ones with the broken wing, but they look fine. They just they can't get out of the nest well. And because think about our transition into adulthood, college is such a pivotal point.
Oh my God.
You have them, they are clay really in your hands, which is almost, it's wonderful knowing that you have them, because there are some professors that are teaching them, these kids, things that it makes my head want to explode, but you are teaching the way I like kids to be taught. So you probably do see some kids who are hurting. Could you ever, because you're at a private college, so you have more of a relationship with these students rather than a big public university.
Right.
I would say that's such a benefit. So have you ever had one that maybe then now knows you're a health coach, who's come to you and said, I'm struggling, I need help, I'm having trouble with addiction, or I sleep too much? Have you had any of that?
I have had students that have come to me for help outside of, the discipline of sociology. And a big part of what I tell my students at the beginning of the semester is, yes, I'm your professor, but I want you to be successful in my class as well as beyond my class. And sometimes you need additional resources that you wouldn't really think, well, my professor is going to teach me that or help me with that or whatever. So I do have students that come to me. A lot of times it's for things like time management. Like, how do I manage my time? And what they don't realize is that what seems like a very small thing can be huge, especially when you're first, like you said, that transition, when you're first going into college and you're not under mom and dad's, all-seeing eye. They're not managing your schedule. They're not checking your grades every day. They're not doing all those things for you. And in fact, I had a young lady come to me at the beginning of this past semester who said that very thing. She's like, I've always been a good student. I've always gotten good grades. High school was relatively easy for me. She's like, I don't know why I'm struggling. And she's like, it's hard for me. I just don't know how to spend my time. My parents aren't here, so I don't have that help. And I said, okay, I'm happy to help you. And we talked about just some time management things and just some things to help her deal with kind of being accountable to herself. And she did well. I don't know how she did in her other classes, but at least in my class, she was able to kind of pick up the pace and, gather herself together and use some of those techniques. Those are the same things that I work with people, with adults.
Right. I know. So I'm saying you need to spend an entire hour getting all of us and our time management disciplined. I mean, good night, because we all need it. I tell you what's really interrupted all of our lives, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And it's the TikTok, and it's the Instagram, and it's the Facebook. It's a time suck for all ages. Because don't you see those kids in class sometimes looking down on their phone? All the time.
And
right.
I can see your face. Like, I know you. I know you ain't taking notes.
I know, but I think we need that too. Don't you think though, that as we approach 2023 and, there, of course, social media have a big influence. It continues to grow its influence since the beginning of Facebook time, which was, about 2006 or 7, when we first started looking at Facebook. It will continue to have more influence and weight on us, and actual reading, and humans won't. So I think that's a good approach for all of us. So let's look into 2023. What advice can you give us then to approach 2023 and to be detached from our devices at certain times? Like, how do you think a good way to start your day is? Device in hand or device over there and not look at it yet?
This is actually something I had to change for myself a few years ago. I would sleep with my phone on my nightstand next to my bed. Yeah. And anytime it buzzed, it rang, I wouldn't necessarily look at it, but it would trigger something. I would wake up a little bit. And and then when I woke up, I wouldn't even get out of bed. I would look at my phone immediately.
I know.
So I follow Bob Heilig. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but one of the things, I can't remember if it was a podcast or a webinar, but he talked about time management, and he talked about what you do at the beginning of the day really sets you up for what the rest of your day is going to be like. And it was the first time I really ever thought about checking my email being an immediate stressor for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I never really thought about it that way. And so at that time, I challenged myself to sleep with my phone in a different room.
Mhm.
And it's crazy, but it has made a huge difference
Wow.
for me. Just to sleep with it, I put it on do not disturb.
Yeah.
So I can't even hear it ringing across the house. It goes on do not disturb at 9 p.m. I think.
Yeah.
And at 6 or 7 it comes off. But it goes in a different room, and I don't even think about it. I don't check it or anything. It's not the first thing I do anymore.
That is so healthy. I guess y'all are rich and you actually bought an alarm clock.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't have one.
There's this really cool thing called Amazon. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Right. I've heard.
Yeah.
But that's
so they bring it right to your house. It's amazing.
I know. That's my excuse with my phone beside my bed is I have to know the time. I remember one time my husband did make me put it in another room because I would get up. And so aging women sometimes have to get up and go TT.
Yeah.
And so in that time to go TT, it was always because I used to have to get up at 3:45 because I was on the radio. So I would get up in the middle of the night and it would be 3 when I'd get up to TT. And then I'd go, well, I'll just be up for the day. And he said, don't even look at your phone. Just go back to bed. And it was, I'm telling you, it's as if he severed my arm to do that at first. I put it in a bathroom. I put it away. I put it where I could not look at it. And I actually had an alarm beside my bed. I really did. But I'm going to splurge from Amazon and get one of those fancy alarm clocks so that I don't look at it. And I know my kids will say, that I know one of my kids gets up and he watches TikTok to wake him up. And I know that's a big thing with like Dr. Huberman, who, if you don't follow him, you need to. Andrew Huberman, he's a PhD at Stanford and he's brilliant, but he's a big sleep proponent. He said of all the things we're talking about with people, not how much do you weigh, what's your insulin, what's your sleep like?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says part of what interrupts your sleep and not knowing that there's sunlight outside is looking at a phone.
Yep.
And looking at TikTok, being sucked in. And so putting it away. So, okay, everybody, for 2023, let's put our phones in another room. Let's make Amazon rich by buying all the alarm clocks. And then let's just start our day in a healthy way. I think that's great advice. Now, what else do you tell people? I mean, that to me is health coaching advice for everybody across the board. Yeah. What are some other tenets you have in your paradigm of good health?
So you mentioned sleep, and this was a huge thing for me because I loved to sleep, and so much so that I would wake up in the morning and think, when am I going to get a nap today?
Oh, yeah.
That was unhealthy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I just thought, again, busy mom, I'm tired all the time. Like, that's just okay. I'll just figure out when I'm going to sleep or when I'm going to nap. Yeah, night and day now, Lisa. I mean, I go to bed, I lay down, I'm out. I go to sleep, I stay asleep. Well, sometimes I have to get up to go to the bathroom. Yeah. But, when I come back to bed, I go right back to sleep. There is no tossing and turning.
Awesome.
And when I wake up, I'm awake. I don't feel groggy, and it doesn't take me a ton of time to get out of bed. That is something that I think has been so understated, is the importance of sleep. And when you think about the fact that, new moms or new parents, they don't get a ton of sleep in the beginning, our doctors that are trained don't get a lot of sleep.
No,
It just boggles my mind because I'm like, that's a torture tactic.
it is.
When you think about what people go through when they are tortured, their sleep is taken away. So why is it that we put our medical professionals through this training that robs them of sleep? So they get brain fog, they're exhausted, their decision-making skills are like of a drunk driver.
Yeah.
And yet we allow them to be in this state to make health decisions for
Right.
people.
I agree.
Or, new parents are in this state where they are just exhausted and people are bringing them pies. And I'm like, no.
Right.
You go to that lady's house, you tell her to go get in the bed so she can get some sleep. You take that baby and you take care of that baby, or you go clean her house, or you go do her, like, we have just, this sleep thing, you can tell I'm passionate about my sleep, sister.
It almost makes me cry to hear you say all this, because any new mom would say, thank you for the meal, but could you just let me go take a shower?
Yes.
Or let me just have some time alone, hold my baby. But if you're bringing pie, I do like a good coconut chest pie. I'll tell you that while you're up. But no, you make such valuable points. And I think too, there used to be a time in our society that it was, you'll sleep when you're dead,
right.
Especially because I was in media. So we really didn't get a lot of sleep during a lot of, so many years. And I know that's what contributed to any health problem I had, was getting up at 3:45 wears on you. I mean, when you get up in the middle of the night, it's hard for your brain to adjust. But how valuable that is. Yeah, I would say sleep is kind of the football field of our lives. Everything else, it's the ground you run on. It is everything. And now I value my sleep, and it's a priority. And I know it's a priority because, this is the truth. It's a priority with someone when their eyes are bright, when their skin looks good, when their hair looks good, when they're smiling. Because, in the times you're not getting sleep, your affect, your mood, everything, and the weight gain that happens, the sicknesses that come from lack of sleep, from interrupted gut sleep. Health. Yes, everything. Is gut health something you really talk about with everybody?
Absolutely. I think it's something that, not a lot of people understand. They think gut health is really related to, or the only time you really need to talk about gut health is if you have some sort of gastrointestinal symptom or a diagnosis. And what people don't realize is gut health really affects every piece of your physical and mental being. So yeah, it's definitely something that I do talk about with people. Yeah.
What about supplementation? Where are you on the supplementation bandwagon?
So I supplement. My whole family takes supplements. I think they are important because they really do provide some gap fills, even for the people who eat clean, or they do eat healthy. Unfortunately, our food is not as nutrient dense as it once was. And so many people do, even if they're eating healthy, they may not necessarily realize that there are some things that have infiltrated those healthy things, so they may be eating vegetables, let's say, but there's pesticides and things like that. So there's a variety, I think, of supplements that are very healthy and important for people. However, they are not the end all be all.
Right.
You cannot just take a supplement and think that's it, because that goes back to a pill for an ill approach. Right. You can't just take a multivitamin and think that's it, right? It just is going to work. Or, you can't just take a B12 and be like, this is just going to give me energy for days and I don't need to do anything else. So I do think they're important, but they are not the only path to a healthy life.
Plus, you could go broke investing in them. you know, because it can get expensive. So it's a conversation I know you have with your clients, and I have to have with myself, because it's like shopping at a candy store when you know about health. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I need NAD. Yeah, I need NAD. I need B12. Yeah. Oh, I've got to get some more vitamin D. And I'm clicking these things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to sell a kidney on the black market to afford my supplement habit. Sheesh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything
When you
else?
mentioned vitamin D, it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I try, I do have a vitamin D supplement that I take at certain times, but I really try to get my vitamin D from the source where
Yes.
best gives vitamin D, right? I try to
Yes.
take walks outside or sit outside and read or something like that, where I can get that sunlight and soak it into my skin. Yeah. So, while there may be a need for that for some
Yeah.
people, or, there may be certain times of the year, for example, that it might be more necessary than others. I try not to depend on it solely. I try to get what I can from the natural resources around me.
Yes, I agree. But I have the vitamin D app, or D Minder, I think is what it's called, the app. And I looked the other day, and there is no vitamin D in the Northern Hemisphere until like the end of January. And I looked even in Dallas, where my
Wow.
son is. And so we really have to supplement now. And you probably know this, but my African-American son-in-law has lower, it's harder for him to absorb vitamin D than my red-haired, blue-eyed children, because the color of our eyes and ethnicity has a lot to do with how we absorb it. So what are your vitamin D levels? Do you know?
You know what? When I don't remember what they were, because they were tested in the summer, I believe. Yeah, in the summer.
Yeah.
And actually, I had just gone to a brand new functional medicine gynecologist.
Okay.
And so at that point, they were on the higher end of the normal, which was good.
Yeah.
Because normal doesn't mean a whole lot in
No,
America.
right.
So they were good. She was not concerned, about
Good.
where I was. That was summertime though. I was outside a lot. I was taking walks almost every day. I was sitting outside reading, those types of things. So, it might not be a bad idea for me to get them tested again in these cooler months, when I definitely am, I'm inside more because I'm teaching, throughout the day, and doing things like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Did we miss anything? I'm looking at the clock. We went a little over, but we had a lot to chat about.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything today? Anything else we think that they want to know? You're an interesting person, so I think people are listening, and the fact that you obviously love teaching, and that's what health coaching is. So that's what I would say, that the benefit of having a health coach. So I'll sell this on your behalf. Is you partner with someone to help them, and you said it, to reach those goals. But people sometimes they always think their first goal, and I know when they come to you, they come to me, or if I speak to a group, is don't look at what I'm going to eat. That's the first. I go, I don't care what you eat. Again, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
We are so food driven in everything. And then the other
don't
thing,
tell me what I can't have. Don't tell me what I can't have. And it's like, I'm not your mom.
I'm not your
like, I already have 2 children and a half, because I'm married. So I don't need to take more time out of my day telling somebody what to do and what not to do.
I totally agree.
And we are adults and going to have a conversation.
That's right. The other thing they think that we are here to judge is how much they weigh. And they'll tell me how much they weigh. I go, I really don't care about that. And I'm really an intermittent fasting health coach. Even in that realm, I go, don't ever tell me about what the scale said or how many calories you had.
Right.
I don't care, because it doesn't matter. It does. It's not a barometer of your health, as you know. It's the question of how much sleep are you getting? Oh, how much sunlight are you getting? Now that's what I care about. So you're caring about the things that help them.
What's really interesting about the weight aspect is, my whole life I've been a thin person, and I actually never realized until maybe I definitely was an adult. I didn't realize how much negativity was kind of sent my way because I am a thin person,
Yeah.
and I always have been. I mean, you know, I absolutely despise the word skinny.
Yeah.
Hate it. I mean,
Mhm.
any product that is called skinny, like, I don't even want to use it. I don't want to look at it.
I
No,
love it.
no. Because I think because so many people just made assumptions about me. And I would hear things like, even into adulthood, I would hear things like, oh, you need to go eat a burger, or you're so skinny, or whatever it was. And I didn't realize how that affected me, but I would eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until I just couldn't eat anymore because everybody pointed it out. And I'm so sick of the weight conversation. It just drives me crazy. I don't care if you are 100 pounds overweight or you're underweight, whatever it is. Like, we need to get you healthy. We need to get you feeling good. We need to get your mood balanced. We need to get your blood sugar under control. We need to get you to a point where you're going to the bathroom every single day,
Yeah.
or you're not running to the bathroom every single day. We need to get your sleep good. Like, these are the things we need to be focusing on, and not people's weight. If one more person says to me that I am too thin or too skinny or whatever it is, I might just need Jesus to come back and save me, because it drives me bonkers.
Right. About to break a kneecap up in there.
Oh my gosh.
I know. You're right. You're right. It's too much focus when it's so much more to health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a term now we hear is being metabolically healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
88% of people watching this are metabolically unhealthy.
It's crazy.
And it's not the weight. It's what do you have high blood pressure, fasting insulin, what you're, the cholesterol panel, and that's kind of over here, but it's all these other things, what your C-reactive protein is, vitamin D, blah, 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 blah. Those are the things we should be looking at, not the number on the scale or how many calories you have eaten. So
yeah. I tell people, I'm like, okay, fine. You took your weight today. Now go bury the scale in the backyard.
You're,
We don't want to look at
right. You're right. And it will not be resurrected like
No.
Lazarus or Jesus.
So
no. All the praise hands, as they say, all the praise hands. Well, great job today. Thank you for letting me be the Oprah of this conversation and interview you.
Absolutely.
You're just a doll, and you really are. Like I said, I love the way you learn. I love your social media. So people need to follow you on your social media.
Thank you so much. And I enjoy you as well. And as soon as I thought, I want to do this, I was like, Lisa is the woman to do this, to guide me through. So I do appreciate you taking another bit of your time out to do this with me. So
I had a blowout yesterday. So there.
Perfect timing.
I've got good hair.
Everybody's hair looks great today.
Yeah, yours looks really good.
So on that note, everybody that is watching, I so appreciate you. And if you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're wanting to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Instagram at Coach Krisler. You can also find me on Facebook, Health Coaching with Krisler. And always make sure you catch all of the combos, because we have some really great people, really great conversations. I love that people share their personal experiences with health. And until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.